Welcome back to Dan's Messy Garage. This is going to be part 15 working on the Budget 302. And yesterday I sprayed some Eastwood silver paint on the manifolds and intake. And it was nice and shiny when it was wet. And it's got a, it says it's a matte silver, which is what it is. Now, I'm going to try spraying the clear over that and see if it shines it up. But the problem there is I bought a satin clear. That's already a matte, so it's probably not going to shine it. It might help protect it. Let's move on. Budget. Okay. We already talked about me blowing the budget. I did. And I'm going to try to sell off some of the parts that came with the engine to make up for some of that. I kind of started gathering up those parts to do that, but I got to put the ads up. Budget's going to get a lot worse. I mean, it's going to get blown a lot worse. There's not stuff on here, like the paint, the clear coat for the headers, the black engine paint, and I had to buy some brake cleaner to clean up the block. So the paint was $37.61. Now something that wasn't in my last update, but is here now, is the Harmonic Balancer. I was going to use the old one, but then I thought better of it, and I bought a new one. In fact, the new one is sitting right there in that box. But that was $90.29. And thermostat housing. I got it locally from a neighbor. $10, brand new. So you can add that $10. Valve covers. I did go through my stash. I don't have what I thought I had. The ones that are on the engine right now that are just, I got tinfoil wrapped around it. There's old rusted chrome ones. So what I'm getting at is the valve covers. I'm just going to buy some. Now that's going to, this budget's already blown. Hopefully I can, like I said, sell parts, make up for some of it. I haven't bought them yet, but I've been searching. Looks like they're going to be about $100. That's my estimate. Other thing is there's a big loss here that I'm taking a bath on because I got scammed on that carburetor. Paid $300 of the guy, and you can't contact him anymore. He's a ghost. And I've left multiple messages on his cell phone, and it's just that. It's a message, and yeah. So anyways, carburetor. I'm supposedly meeting with a guy today that has one locally, and that's going to be $100. And that's going to be the end of the budget update for this episode. Now we're going to get into what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is a little experiment on spraying the clear coat on exhaust manifolds. This dipstick tube is something I already had. So I'm saving myself a couple bucks there because I didn't have to buy it. Because this engine needs a dipstick tube in the timing cover. Let's see, this one I have to play with the studs. I'm going to spray the back of this one. I'll just do a test here. I was shaking this off camera, so it's ready to go. See, it looks like it turns a little gray. I'm just going to leave that like that. See what it looks like when it dries. I'm going to remove the tape and stuff off this engine and maybe put the fuel pump on. This is my little distributor hold down clamp. I had that hanging off a bolt here so I could paint it. I'm going to find the gasket and then slap the fuel pumps on there. Got the fuel pump and it goes right inside here, but you can see I can't really get it up where it belongs without fighting the spring in the arm. There's a kind of a trick to that. You just gotta turn the crank. Well, you would think you'd start out with a top dead center number 1, but you go 180. So I'm just gonna hold it in there. Since it's on an engine stand, I can do this. In a car, it's not as easy. See, now it slides up into position because all it did is move that eccentric up and allow me to get this in. I'm going to glue up the gasket and put my new bolts in and tighten them down. Intake gets a coat of or 2 of the satin clear. Dipstick tube is going in next. That just is a press fit into the timing cover, and then it has a little tab that's going to go behind the alternator bolt, but I don't have that. It should be all right. I'm going to put a little sealant on the bottom of this. Shove her in there. No, I guess wipe that oil off first. I just took a twisted paper towel with some starting fluid and went inside that hole and cleaned out the oil. This is going to get shoved down in here. Might have to give it a little tappy tap tap. Looks like it's seated all the way down. Like that's going to line up with the alternator bolt. All right, let's check the oil. It says above the safe zone, in the zone between safe and max. Maybe a half a quart low. Understandable. I had oil everywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to worry about all that after it's in the car, after I do the first oil change. Then I can figure out if I need to cut down this, extend that, or simply scratch another line right there for full. that's the end of this part. Harmonic balancer and timing pointer. That's coming up next. Let's compare the new one to the old one, and they look to be the same. I like this because it's got all the marks on there up to 50 degrees. So like when it's running and you got full advance and you want it at 36, you can put a mark there. I don't have a dial back timing light. If you did, you could use the 0, but I don't have one, so I'm going to be using 36-ish. In fact, I'll put a little white or green line on there now, and it'll make it easier when I do get the engine running. You'll be able to see that from where you are. I put a 0, then I just did 10, 20, 30, and a 36 white mark. Now I got to install this and figure out a pointer. Got to put a little grease on the surface here that oil seal rides on. I have a little grease on the inside where it's going on the crank. And I got to put this on here. Try to get the keyway to line up right there. Today's been one of those days of interruptions. Run here, go there, come back here, do a little work, whatever. Look what I just got. I scored. I was looking on offer up for valve covers, and I got a whole chrome dress-up kit. They're just plain old chrome valve covers, but it came with the caps, oil caps, a new thermostat water neck, which I already bought. It's got the wire looms. I got all this for 30 bucks. So I can update my budget list. Oh, I'm glad that worked out. So, valve covers, $30. I'm still over budget, but there could be light at the end of this tunnel. One of the things I was doing today was meeting with a guy that possibly will buy the engine out of my Falcon. If he does that, I don't have to worry about any of this budget because it'll be taken care of. So I'm going to try to get back to the engine and the timing pointer. I got to put the harmonic balancer on. I find a big socket in my impact gun. That's really not the way to do it, but it's the way I'm doing it. Because there's a tool that's made to thread into the crank, and it has like let's call it a big washer. Goes on here and a nut. And when you hold the tool, turn that nut, it pushes the balancer onto the crank. I don't have that. So I'm going to find a 15/16 socket here. And I'll turn it as much as I can before the crank starts to turn. Then I can get my impact out, cinch it up. That's going on easy. It's not like it's going to wreck the crank or stress the threads or break the bolt. Nothing like that. Okay, that's there. All right. Get the impact and tighten that up. And I have the stock timing pointer on the engine. Now on my list, I got make a timing pointer. I want to make a pointer for this side of the engine because I don't know where my accessories are going to be in the car. I don't know if I'll be able to see this one, with the timing light. So I'm going to make one over here too. But I need to verify that this balancer 0 lines up with my pointer and adjust the pointer to line up with the balancer, if that makes any sense. So I'm just going to thread the plug in a little bit, or this bolt. Then I'm going to spin the crank around. I put a piece of tape on here. I'm going to spin it around until the piston comes up and hits that piston stop. And it didn't hit, so I got to go in a little further. There, it hit. So then I mark this tape right where it hit that way. And then I go in the opposite direction, all the way around, until it hits again. Right there. I put a little mark on that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to move it out a little. Turn this. Okay. What I'm trying to do is find some couple points in between these two. Okay, right there is one. So I go all the way around this other direction till it hits. Right there. So, true top dead center is in between those two marks. And I can see through the tape where I have the white mark at the 0. So I just verified that balancer and this pointer will line up. So what I'm going to do now, take my tape off of here, take the piston stop out. When I put this on 0, now I have a really good location to make a pointer on this side of the engine. And I can measure over, put a piece of tape on there. And of course I got this right where I can't get to it easy. But you put a mark at 0, one at 10, 20. I can see through this tape. There's 30, and that's 36. So then I take this piece of tape, put this back on 0. Hope I'm not confusing this. I'm confusing you by doing all this. Top dead center. So when I come over here, make my pointer, I can just put this tape on here. And I'll know where the pointer needs to be pointed at. Or, you know what I'm trying to say, I hope. Okay, it's been one of those days, folks. I'm going to call this the end of day 15, working on the 302 budget build in Dan's Messy Garage. Please come back to my channel for part 16. Did I say day 15? See, it's one of those long days.